Hey everyone, so I just wanted to teach a new feature in Java that we haven't gone over yet. So this is the conditional statement in Java. What conditionals allow us to do is basically make our program do different things based on things that might happen. So in here I have a little problem. It says if our arm is higher than 0.5 meters, we want to basically log that arm is high. We want to say don't lose balance, and we're going to make our drivetrain slower to make sure that because it's higher up, we need to be moving slower so that we don't fall over, basically. But if the arm's between zero point 0.2 and zero point 0.5 meters, we'll log that it's mid, and otherwise we'll log that it's low. So, before we get to that problem, I want to first explain how we can solve this, and that's using the if statement in Java. So, the way you create an if statement in Java is by typing in if. Then you're going to put parentheses right here, and inside of this, if statements only work with Boolean expressions or Booleans. So you can put in something that's true. You could create a Boolean, call it like Boolean condition equals true, and then you could put in condition. You could say something like, you can make this a bit more complicated, but whatever in here needs to be a Boolean. So then we put space and then a curly brace. You don't actually have to do that. So first, I'll show you how to do without it. So we can have our if statement right here, and then we could go SOUT, so system out println, and we could say condition passed. So let's try this with code right here, and we'll see it says condition passed, just like that. So um, what if we wanted to say assign a value to a condition, or maybe, let's try this. So what if we wanted to make two lines go? So let's say we want to print out our arm is high, right? And then we want to also say don't lose balance. But if we try that, system.out.println don't lose balance, just like that. And if we, oh, I forgot my semicolon, silly me. So if we try this, you'll see it prints out both those statements, but what if this is false? This is where you might see it, you might not see the bug. It still prints out don't lose balance, even though our condition is false. That's because what Java is doing is, because spacing doesn't actually matter in Java, it's evaluating only this condition, but this one is always going to run regardless of this if block right here. So what we can do is create what's called a scope in Java, and we've already seen scopes before. These right here are scopes. They are curly braces, and they basically represent a block of code. So I want to create a block of code right here after the if statement, and then if I put both of these statements right here into my block of code, and then I fix the spacing to more easily signify that this is inside this block of code, this makes the code more readable, then whenever we run it, now we're not going to get either of them. None of those statements printed out. We go true, and both of them will go. So whenever you're using if statements, you can create these things so that it's not just what's running on that same line. Like basically, Java thinks of this as just one line, and then this as another line. So this could be another way you could think about it. So those are a few different ways you could use if statements, and there's lots of ways you can make if statements a little bit confusing. So it's always good to make sure you have good formatting, and you'll eventually learn all like the different things about it. So let's try to copy this over into my if statements. So first, if the arm is higher than 0.5 meters, we want to say arm is high. So instead of this, let's try to create a variable to hold it. So normally I would use a float, but this time I'm going to try a double. So double, um, we'll call it height meters. So because we want to know what unit we're using, and we're going to make this equal to, how about 0.7, just like that. So for our first condition, we want if height meters is greater than 0.5. We could also say greater than or equal to. Either of these will work. I'm going to actually say greater than or equal to. So this right here evaluates to a Boolean. So this is a double, and by using a comparison operator, we're basically converting these doubles into Booleans because the if statement requires a Boolean to be inside of it. So we've evaluated this, and also we want to do our last thing, make the drivetrain slower. So let's create a Boolean called is drivetrain slow, just like that. And we're gonna make this equal to false for now, or we'll just make that we'll just make it false, I guess. Or how about we do it like this? So we're gonna say, and then is drivetrain slow equals false, like this, perfect like that. No, sorry, true. I'm confusing myself. Okay, so we made our drivetrain slower by setting it to true, and then if our arm is between 0.2 meters and 0.5 meters, we want to say that the arm is mid. So let's do that. So the way we can do this, so if we do this, basically this otherwise part right here is by typing in else. And then we can also type in if right after that. So we're saying else if, otherwise if, arm is between 0.2 and 0.5 meters. So let's try to make that. So height meters is greater than or equal to 0.2. And then we can use that and operator, of course. So and height meters is less than or equal to 0.5. Here, I'll say greater than and that, so that way there's no crossover. Then we want to create another block right here, and we could log arm is mid. Mid. Let's make caps. We could also, of course, not have this if we wanted to, and we could just keep going like that. So I'm going to try it without the block for now. And then otherwise, we're going to know that our arm is low. So else system.out.println arm is low. Just like that. So these are how we can use our Boolean operators. So here, oh, I actually forgot one thing. We need to make sure our drivetrain is set to false for these other two conditions. So I now need to create a block. If I want to do more than one thing in it, I'm going to need a block. So now we can go is drivetrain slow, and we're going to set that to false. And then we'll do it for the last condition, else create a block, is drivetrain clone equals false, put this in the block, fix our spacing, and we could move this up if we wanted to, just like that, and there we go. We've created our logic right here to control whether the drivetrain is slow. Now, there are actually a lot of things we can do to simplify this code drastically, so to show you what we can do, I'll demonstrate in the next video what we can do basically to make this code a lot more simple but still do the exact same thing. So for now, let's test it. So let's say our heart meter is 0.7. What's happening here? It's going, this condition is true, so it's printing this out, and it's going to set this value to true, which we probably should have printed it out, but let's just hope, we'll just know that it's true. So that's all true, and we can see that right here. And then Java looks at these else's. Well, this condition was true, so it'll just skip them all basically. Same thing, what if this was 0.5? Let's see what happens. So 0.5 is not greater than 0.5, so it's going to go to the next condition, and it's going to be like, okay, so arm is mid, and the drivetrain is not going to be slow. And then if we do a lower number, say 0.2, let's actually do 0.1, because 0.2 is going to fall under this condition. So 0.1, and that's going to say arm is low. So just like that, we have created all of our conditions. So these conditional statements, so the if statements, are very useful, but they can also make your code pretty confusing. So it's really good to learn lots of things you can do to simplify if statements. And I'm going to be teaching you about new things you can do in even more in the future about how you can simplify your if statements. But in the next video, we're going to be going how we can simplify in this specific example.